we're going to open this event with a song. And the song is from one of my CDs. It's called My Body, My Temple. What it is the body talking to the soul and the soul talking back to the body. And I thought of it because this time of year, it's Advent, we're all thinking of Mary's pregnancy, we're all thinking of the Magnificat, we're all thinking all those old thoughts that have been handed down to us for thousands of years. And today is about generating new thoughts, new images for these seasons of our lives. And so this prayer is the prayer of the body thanking the spirit and the spirit thanking the body. We'll listen to this and then launch in.
My body, my temple, my palace. My body, my vessel, my chalice. I thank you for being my home away from home, for giving me a chance to be on earth. Oh Spirit, my wisdom, my wellspring, my question, my answer, my knowing. With open arms and bended knees, I call you to my breast, where you will find a holy place to rest. My palace, my body, my vessel, my chalice. I thank you for being my home away from home, for giving me a chance to be on earth. Oh Spirit, my wisdom, my wellspring, my question, my answer, my knowing. With open arms and bended knee, I call you to my breast, where you will find a holy place to rest. With open arms and bended knees, I call you to my breast, where you will find a holy place to rest.
Okay. That's a good example, by the way, of how to go ahead and do your creative thing, even though you're not good enough, even though it's not perfect. Because I'm no pro singer, but I do know women need songs of spirit to sing together with not a lot of verses. You notice there's only one verse, I sing it twice. So I'm responding to the call of the times, not because I think I have a great voice, but because I think there's a great need. And I think that's why this whole convergence happened because you all noticed a great need. And I trust that we're all activists for the same common good. And that's who I think I'm speaking to today. And I'm going to punctuate our brief little encounter with as much art as I can, because I get to say things that make you be up here in your cerebral zone, but I really want to open up this heart zone so that they're connected. So we'll have it be punctuated with poetry and imagery. I'm hoping you've all seen the videotape, because I'm not taking time to show it, but it would be good if you saw Think of Yourself, because that's a 5-minute kind of video prayer that's really good for our souls. So just so you know a little bit about my trajectory, raised Catholic in Syracuse, New York, all the way up, Catholic schools, was gay as a kid and became suicidal in 6th grade and was saved by Sister Helen Charles, who saw the fire in me and fanned it so that I didn't kill myself. And as a result, I thought nuns had this superpower and they saved kids' lives. And so I thought I should be a nun to save other kids like me who would die without me. But fortunately, or not fortunately, I don't know, that's an odd word, but after 2 years of me being in the Sisters of St. Joseph, they sent me home because they were smarter than I was and they knew I didn't really belong there. I was like an eagle in a canary cage. So it was the worst traumatic event of my life, because since I was 12, I was going to be a nun and I never had a plan B. It took me 20 years to get over that trauma. But I became a social activist primarily because I experienced so much homophobia after I left the convent. Well, homophobia in the convent because I was kicked out for being gay. But after that, in the world at large, so I first became a gay activist and then feminist, peace activist, environmentalist, all those things that the rest of us have acquired, all those mantles. So because I'm an artist, photographer and a singer and a poet, that helps me to kind of metabolize the thoughts that we're all thinking now about the crisis that the world is in. So I'm going to be saying things because I'm not attached to a church, because right after I was dismissed from the convent, my Irish priest confessor told me he wouldn't give me absolution unless I stopped being a practicing homosexual. And I was very naive then. Priests were on priests were like the top official authority. And so I didn't think I could fight it. I didn't think I was right. I thought he was right. And so I just tried to figure out how to have a life without the church. And now I know better that I could have just said, screw you, I'm going to have my church. But I didn't know that then. And I'm kind of glad, because I learned how to be a priest on my own. I'm a priest of the imagination. And so I walk these many fine lines, and I respect that most of you here are somehow affiliated with the church. And I may be saying things today that provoke you or feel too edgy. I just want to give us an image that we're all goddesses sitting on a throne in some different galaxy. We all know the truth, we all embody the truth, but it looks different from where we are. So I'm speaking from my galaxy. And mostly the gift of today is going to be what happens when you're in your small groups and you're invited to hear yourself think and speak. Because it's my opinion that we're the mystics and prophets of these times. And it feels blasphemous to say I'm prophetic, blasphemous to say I'm a mystic. But I bet 80% of us on this call are mystics who have an unmediated experience with divine mystery every day when we sit and do our mindfulness practice, whatever that looks like. Unmediated experience of divinity is all that's required to be a mystic, and a regular practice. So quit being afraid. It's time to come out and acknowledge that why do we keep looking back at Isaiah and Daniel and Ezekiel? These are the times that we live in. So we're calling this igniting the prophetic imagination, which will happen, but sometimes it scares people. And I'll tell you a story about this because I have on a little lake in upstate New York, I have a camp that's right at the lake. And I was there in October writing this book, No Ordinary Time. And it's a book of hours. And so I'm writing prayers, and I have in my bed a Jerusalem Bible because I love the Jerusalem Bible. I'm studying what makes a lamentation. I'm studying the Psalms. I'm writing my own Psalms because I am a cellular Catholic. You know, you never cannot be Catholic. And so I'm the one who puts new wine in the old wineskins. So I'm up there in my bed writing a lamentation or whatever, when all of a sudden I see this shimmery light come right into my bedroom. It was like northern lights or something. I had no idea what it was. I leap out of bed, I run down out the hallway and look out the window, and there it is. The lake is like a mirror. All the trees around the lake are red, gold, orange, just vibrant riot of colors. And the lake was mirror-like, and a little wind had come across it, and it caused all those lights in the lake to shimmer and make their way down to my hallway. And that's what it was. And I was so taken aback. Like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. I have to go down to the dock. So I go downstairs, and just as I open up my screen door, there is a woman standing there, unbelievably, with this pamphlet in her hand. And she looks at me and she goes, "Hi, I'm a Jehovah's Witness. We're trying to get more people interested in the Bible." And I looked at her and I was so happy because we had the same mission. And I said, "Oh, fabulous." I said, "So am I. In fact, I'm writing my own." And she looks horrified now. She takes a step backward. She pulls her pamphlet back towards her breast. And now she says, "You're what?" I said, "I'm writing my own." "How do you do that?" I said, "It's not too hard. I just did a lamentation. And yesterday I did 2 Psalms." And she was just fit to be tied. And she says, "What gives you that authority?" And just then, that wind thing happened and that light shimmered again. And I was forced to look out at the lake. And I said to her, "Look, there's my burning bushes." And when I looked back at her, she was running up the driveway because she was so afraid to encounter anything that might be original, that's associated with the sacred. So I know there's trouble in River City. And I know that we're glued. Look at the O antiphons. I studied the O antiphons yesterday in preparation for this, and they horrified me. I love the idea. I think I wrote several O antiphons in no ordinary time. But sitting here in the last 5 minutes before, while you guys were all coming in the door, I wrote an O antiphon, and I'm going to read it to you in preparation for your first act today. O wisdom, O birther, O fire of fire, O light of light, burn in me, sear away my doubt and any thought of darkness. O come, I will be your hearth. So, if any of you read recently or are reading now, I don't know, I don't think they've started yet, but we all know what the O antiphons are, right? Big part of Advent. So I'm a big proponent of new wine in the old wineskins. I think anytime I do a workshop and we have a closing ritual, which we always do because ritual is transformative, you use the Mass. I mean, the Catholic Church is genius. It owns ritual. Let's just say that. We own ritual. So for us today, I'm just going to take a few minutes. We're going to take I'm going to take 4 minutes. I'll give you 4 minutes. And I'm going to say, sit down there and write your own O antiphon. What's the rules? No rules. You have to have the word O in it. Oh this, oh that. And it's about, oh come, Emmanuel. So it's a prayer of invitation. Oh come, be with me. I say, oh come, I'll be your hearth. Give some thought to what's happening now. You know, when I first went to Japan, I never had been introduced to Buddhism before. I find myself up in the Japanese Alps with this Catholic priest turned Buddhist. He was too much of an activist for Tokyo, so the priest order sent him up to the Japanese Alps and said, take this 5 acres of land and we'll send seminaries to you. We'll send seminarians to you and you work this as a rice farm and have a monastery. So it's a Buddhist Catholic monastery, but mostly Buddhist. And all night long, I'm reading Buddhist texts for the first time because I had never, ever been exposed to Buddhism. I'm 30 some years old on my peace pilgrimage. And at night, this priest, Father Oshida, who has also spent time with the Dalai Lama. I mean, this man is just a brilliant priest, Buddhist. And he gives spiritual lessons at night. And so after supper, we sit around the fire and ask him our questions. So by day 4, I'm having my first crisis of faith. I don't know whether to be Christian or Buddhist, because Buddhism now is unfolding everything to me. And it's like, this is the answer to everything. And I was freaking out because I thought I had to choose one or the other. So at the spiritual teaching that night, I said to him, Father Oshida, I'm in tears. I say, I don't know what to do. I just started this peace pilgrimage, and because the Christian mandate is go and teach all nations, and this is my work as an activist, but now I listen to the Buddha and the Buddhist teachings, and they say just the opposite. Sit down, be still, don't talk, and understand that everything is unfolding perfectly. And I think that means I should go home. What am I supposed to do? And he just was the greatest. He goes, you both, be both. You the incarnation, he said. You the incarnation for now. You be both. And he said to me, Jesus was the event of Buddha's thought, right? Because first comes the thought, and then comes the speaking, and then comes the event. We know this because this is how we create our lives, right? So what I'm trying to let us in on here is that we are the incarnation. We are the ongoing incarnation, right? Like we have now know there wasn't just Genesis story that ended after 7 days when God took his nap. There's a cosmogenesis occurring. The cosmos is constantly expanding through us, to us, with us, and for us. And so for us to be aware of ourselves as co-creators means that we have to get over this voice that wrong people told us. Oh, you're not creative. Oh, you can't draw a straight line. It's blasphemy to say I'm not creative, by the way. Do not ever say that, because the first thing we are is creative. So I know you have resistance, but I'm going to ask you to just sit there. And if you want, I mean, there's so many of us on this call, you don't even have to do it, but some of you are going to do it. You're going to take your pen. You probably have a notebook there because you might have been wanting to take notes. I'll set my timer for 4 minutes, and wherever it is, I'll find it. And you just write an O antiphon that has the word "oh" in it twice. And that says you are ready for something beautiful to happen. Okay? Starting now at 10:26. I'll come back at 10:30. Okay, so we're going to hear some. And who we're going to hear from is anybody who raises their hand, unless Mary or Laura, you know of a better way. Okay, so Phyllis Robinson, unmute yourself. And let's hear your O antiphon.
O time, come sit with me. Open my mind, my heart, my senses. Let spirit of the divine flow through me. Let courage abound, to be free, to create, to envision. O time, I bless your presence. I rejoice in what can be.
Yay! Beautiful. Gorgeous. All right, someone else, raise your hand. I can't see the whole screen. I can only see one page. Mary, or okay, Sandra Stilling.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
O come, spirit of light, spirit of life. O spirit, fill me with your wisdom. Take from me all that is not from you. O spirit, O gracious one, guide me through darkness and wilderness. O spirit, I long to be more creative. Break through my barriers, my old messages, impossible, not good enough. O spirit of life, fill me with your life.
Thank you. Fabulous.
Thank you.
Who else? Lee, were you saying you want to read? No. Okay. Just saying applause. All right. Laura, can you tell if there's anyone in any of the other screens that has a hand raised?
I see a Catherine and Kathy Ann.
Okay, we'll hear 2 more and then we'll go on.
O come, sweet breath of life, sweet breath of health and healing. Bring us the will to care for one another, the perseverance to maintain the caring until this challenge has passed and we are together again.
Beautiful. See how poignant and personal and intimate they are? And they're intimate and infinite at once. It's like we're making such that connection. Okay, the next one, the last one.
O breath, O love, I know you are in me. You keep me alive in this world, no matter. Help me remember to acknowledge you and be mindful of your presence. You are there when I awake and as I fall asleep. O breath, O love, may I be aware and grateful for being.
Amen. Amen. See, I knew you were mystics. Knew that. I did a workshop with up in Canada. Michael Morwood and I had 5 days with a group of people, mostly with the United Church of Canada. And when we first met, we stayed in the same B&B together. So my first encounter with him was the morning breakfast. And I said, I hope you don't mind that I don't let people in my workshop use the word God. And he just laughed and he goes, I hope you don't mind. I don't let people in my workshop use the word CHRIST. Which you may wonder why. Does anybody wonder why? Because where we are, I mean, he's also kicked out of the church. So we're two silenced Catholics, right? But where we stand, the best we can do from our point of view is to keep it real, to not use language that's abstract and conceptual. Catholics also own this, right? But to keep it real and to keep it back at the man Jesus, right? This is it's Advent, right? So it's all about the man, it's all about the boy Jesus. But if you keep it with that guy, even though, I'm a devotee of Bishop John Shelby Spong. So I am unaware that there was no stenographers at the Sermon on the Mount, right? There's nobody around there taking notes. The first gospels and narratives about Jesus weren't written for 60, 70, 80 years after he died. They're making the whole thing up. Like somebody's telling you about your great, great, great grandmother. Oh, she said this, right? So I know we don't have any real things to go on, but we can agree, social activist, that he was there to bring a version of a spirituality that was not about dogma and doctrine, that he promoted a spirituality of intimacy and self-authority and prophetic action, which just means it's action taken by the right people at the right time for the right cause, and fear doesn't enter into it. And this world has changed for us since George Floyd, since Black Lives Matter, since COVID, since all these many, many things. This world we're in is a different world. So we're being called to prophetic action, which means also with the proper amount of ritual. And you all, I think, are masters at ritual. It sounds like that should be the case because I visit your website frequently. And I think, well, they write letters and they do ritual. I know that much about you all. And that you're for justice and that you're for women's voices being heard. Because my analysis of the situation we're in is a matter of decibel levels. So the men's voices are here at this decibel level, and women's voices are down here at this decibel level. And our job is to get women's voices amplified. You say it on your website. Amplify is your first word. So we're all doing the same job here. I think revelation is occurring 24/7. You know, some of you are on my newsletter list. You're on my mailing list already, and you get every Sunday for me something called Bulletins from Immortality. It's a short little thing to boost your life. And it's from a quote by Emily Dickinson, who said, "The only news I get all day is bulletins from immortality. The only news I get is bulletins all day from immortality." That's how she said it. Bulletins all day from immortality. And that's my image of it, that we're being saturated, penetrated, broadcast to 24/7. Infinite thought, supreme intelligence, mind at large, however you call it, is sending us bulletins all day long. And they arrive like thoughts, and we decide which ones we're going to entertain, play with, turn into something. You know, when you let the ones saying, "I hate my thighs," go. "I hate my wrinkles," you just let them go. But you do pay attention to the ones coming in that give you direction, that say, seize onto this and do this. And you know that's the source of your right action. That's the source of your pamphlets. That's the source of the books you write, the poetry you write. That's the source of the antiphons you just wrote. That's revelation occurring through you. The reason why we're doing so much, we're doing 2 sessions today in small groups, is because you guys are bundles full of revelations, but it doesn't get uttered until there's an invitation to speak. So we're giving you the invitation to speak, to hear yourself think, and to get together to say what got spoken in this hour and a half. You know, I get a lot of radio interviews. After every book comes out, you get radio interviews, and they will say to me, "I'll send you the questions in advance." I say, "Please don't send me the questions in advance. That would make me have to think about it and get in my own way. If you just ask me on the spot, then I can have the experience of delight as spirit moves through me, and I don't have to be thinking. I'm just revealing." So to me, that's how it feels. And so we're about to enter into our first small group, unless there's any questions right now in the room about anything before we go into that. We want to get anything answered. Okay. Well, Laura, can you see all these people and know if anybody's got anything they're sitting on?
No questions, Jan.
All right, very good. We're good to go here. So I looked at that 4 big words on your website: amplify, build, create, and act. Since we only have 2 breakout sessions, I'm doing 2 per session. So I am going to give you 2 questions, and your breakout group is going to pick one or the other. So I don't know if I don't see my chat room here, but I'm going to talk it out to you first, and then I think they have put in a chat room. Let me look. I'm just going to talk it out first. All right, amplify. So this is for a group. The question is this: amplify. What message are you amplifying? Are you the source of it? Is anybody excluded from it? Has your message changed since COVID or George Floyd? Why or why not? All right, so that's, any group can do that one, or you can do this one called build. You guys speak of building social and ecclesial structures. Now, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. So the question is, what do you mean by this? Could you say it in another way? For someone who doesn't understand what ecclesial means. If a 13-year-old girl asked you what woman church convergence means, what would you say to her? And I want you to get it down to 2 sentences. So the third option is this. You get in your small group and you all say, I didn't like those questions. Let's talk about this. Because I suspect you're a bunch of anarchists. So I give you permission already to not do either. But the questions are now in your chat room. And if you don't see chat, you can click the little chat thing on the bottom of the screen. There's 2 questions there, amplify and build. We're going to take 20 minutes. Is 20 okay, or do you want to take 15? Maybe let's try 15, because let's try 15. And then we'll come back as a group and somehow we'll process this out. Okay, so Laura is going to put us all into small groups. I think I might like to be in one, Laura, if I can, or I don't know, maybe that's not possible. Okay, so we're going to go into our small groups. In 15 minutes, we're going to come out, and then I will come back to being a facilitator and we'll do something with what got revealed to us. All right? Okay, I get to talk now. The rest of you are muted, I guess. So our group, as it turns out, not a one of us was in Women Church Convergence. So we had some liberties to explore. And at the very end, one of the women told us about, she's part of a kind of peripheral Catholic group that branched off when the priest refused to baptize the child of 2 lesbian parents during the Mass. And that was the thing that caused their prophetic action. It was a move away from injustice that caused them to become a spiritual community. Just X amount of people, not a huge group. The rest of the parishioners still keep going. They never felt called to any kind of action or resistance or whatever, but this particular circle, I hope I'm representing it properly. I don't know yet, but so anyway, that's what I noticed, right? I'm listening for actions that people are taking that they might not even consider prophetic, but I'm here to say that was a prophetic action because it's the creation of a new thing, A, creation of a new spiritual community, and B, an act of resistance against injustice. I mean, you have to tell the church that. You don't just break off and it'd be like a boycott on lettuce and you never tell why, right? You have to tell the people what the boycott is about. And then we had a little conversation about the problem with transubstantiation and how our indoctrination into this church has given us the, heebie-jeebies about calling anything communion that hasn't been, the hocus pocus by the priest. And so that's something that everybody is in the process of overcoming it or on an evolutionary trajectory toward overcoming, to get to the place where we are comfortable saying, yeah, this may not be the same Eucharist we grew up with, where if they, God forbid, dropped in on the floor, all kinds of crap had to happen. But it's a matter of what Jesus was standing for is come together with people, drink wine, break bread, have a good time, and be mindful of your oneness with unfolding creation. So at some point in all of our lives, that becomes a natural, organic evolution, that we prefer that living organic community over all the magical things that priests can do that we can't do, right? You don't have to be like I am sometimes sarcastic about that church, even though it's mine. You don't have to say anything bad about the church. You can just keep going forward saying, this is what I believe is right for these times. Any gatherings of people, tons of us have been hurt and offended by that church, but you don't have to be hurt and offended by it to create a spiritual community like we're doing in COVID times, figuring out, oh man, how can I be with people? How can I, what's a new church going to look like if we never can go back to church? I mean, I think this group has been wrestling with that question for a long time, but since so many people are on this call that aren't part of Women Church Convergence, it's good. It's a good thing to have a conversation about. So I'm imagining that some big things that are substantial or poignant came up in some of your conversations that might be worth the group attention now. And this is a process of self-discernment. If something came up in any of your groups that you'd like to share, this would be the time. So I'm going to ask Laura and Mary to peruse the whole group and see if anybody's got their hands up. We had build and we had amplify. Nobody's, okay, let's go. I can't
Ruth,
see.
I see
Mary,
Ruth
I
has a
see
hand
Ruth.
up.
unmute yourself.
Okay.
And then after Mary, we'll hear from Mary Lou. Mary Michael Leahy. Unmute yourself.
Okay. You hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. We focused on the first question of amplify, and I have to say it was really a beautiful circle of people who I would characterize as seekers. Most of us have not ever been a part of or attended a woman convergence retreat or presentation, anything about them. So I would say that most of us, the majority of us in this group, were seeking still our place in our evolution as originally Roman Catholics and finding a new place, not necessarily outside the church, not necessarily inside the church, but a place where we feel comfortable to grow and listen to the spirit and message and go from there. And I felt really moved by the fact that the majority of the people describe themselves as, you know, further along in life, but feel like this has been a very sacred time for them to a cocoon of hope and being a surrogate to something that they feel is growing inside of them during this time of quiet and isolation too. A few are in communities. One of us is, you know, very involved in Roman Catholic women priests, and the message is women's ordination, but, you know, understands that that's just one thing that she's been called to. That's myself, very much so. But for the most part, we're listening and following a call, listening for a call to do something maybe more specific. And I guess the overarching message, and someone put it so well, is that we're all engaged to care for each other in a variety of ways and to help each other find those ways and be together in that.
I think you put it so well when you called it a cocoon of hope.
Mm.
That was a beautiful expression. And I just, before we hear from Mary Lou, I just want to say one thing, that if you have a regular practice, if you have a spiritual practice that you tend to every day, during which you reflect on and celebrate and are grateful for your intermingling with the great source of creation itself, if that is true for you, you never have to use the word seeker again, because you are already a finder.
Mhm.
Okay, Mary Lou.
Okay, in our group, we decided to concentrate on the word change.
Anarchist.
That had come up in our beginning conversations from a number of us. So we gave change, each of us went around and said what change they found was really needed. So I'll just reiterate those. One is, it was very important not to exclude anyone from the church because of rules and regulations about the church. So to stop that excluding of people. The church should be open enough for everybody, really. The second concept was change who's at the table. That was the other change, that it needs to be more diverse who's at the table deciding things, Okay, then the hierarchy male that we have right now. The third concept of change was that the role of the clergy should change. They should not be acting as a mediator between us and the holy. That should no longer be their role, that they are the ones deciding whether we're good or not, or whether we're right or not. That should not be their role anymore. The other roles, but not that. And then another one was of change should be that the emphasis in the church should be on loving kindness. However loving kindness is expressed by various different people, it should be on loving kindness. That should be prime thinking. And then the last one that was discussed was ritual. That rituals that have existed in the Catholic Church for eons need to change. Rituals cannot be ones that we keep because they go back and were created, I don't know, thousands of years ago, which have become meaningless. Rituals, if they do exist, the rituals do have a role. I mean, they really do. Yeah, we didn't dismiss ritual, but they have to be changed if they're no longer meaningful. If they were created for a certain group or a certain community, which no longer has meaning to the present community. So the rituals could change from all over the world. I mean, the Catholic Church has always prided themselves that you could go to a mass anywhere in the world and it would be exactly the same. Well, we don't want that. We don't think that's realistic. We don't think that's, it's not meaningful. What's meaningful to someone in Africa is not meaningful to somebody, I don't know, in Brazil or wherever you want to say, So rituals need to be able to change and be adapted by the local community because it means something to them. So that's it. That was what we talked about, change. And each of us gave out.
So as an activist, I always have activist responses whenever I hear people sharing. And so I just want to say about your speaking there, every one of those manifesto items that you came up with are really brilliant and a requirement of this hour. What I visualize as the next step is the body politic moving into action. And so when you say no more of that, no more of that, that's step A. And step B is this group is going to create, you know, a non-denominational ritual or an ecumen or, you know, ritual of diversity or whatever you call it. But you then become kind of the trendsetters because you have an understanding of the poignancy of ritual. Then we move into our role, or you call your local woman priest, or you do whatever needs to be done to set it up. I mean, even be zoomrituals.com, even be the ones that take the leading role. It seems like, even though so many of us here are not in WCC, it seems like that organization is primed for being the creators of examples of new rituals that people can look at on screen, participate in, right? Feel blessed by, and feel necessary to. And that would be a pretty prophetic action to do next. I would love to do that because I'm a ritual queen myself, and I always just make it up at the time. But to actually participate in a collective endeavor to create meaningful rituals for this time in history, I want to be on that. I want to be at that table. So that's what your thoughts and your group stimulated for me. Do you see how we need each other to take it to the next step? I needed to hear those words to hear my own thinking. It's how we help each other. All right, is there another group?
Dan, we had two other people, Carolyn Kellogg and Ruth Steiner Foote, who
Okay, let's hear, and we're now mindful of the time, and we're mindful that we made a terrible mistake and only given ourselves 90 minutes for this. So let me confess that, damn it, it's not 11:20 already, but we do want to hear from these two groups. So let's see what got inspired. Unmute yourself. Who's talking?
Carolyn, you're still muted. Let's see.
Are we? There we go.
You're fine. You're fine now.
It so happened there were four women in our group, and all four of us are members of small spiritual communities. And I'm also part of Women Church Convergence. So we shared what each of us do in our small spiritual communities. And that was, for us, that was like, well, we're not the only ones in the world doing this. I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area. I don't know where the other people were from, but so it's not just a few of us. There's a whole lot of us already doing this, going out and forming our own spiritual, liturgical in some cases, communities. So our message is you're not alone.
Our message is you're not alone. Mm-hmm. And the question is, at some point, is there cause for these groups to convene? Maybe not. Maybe we don't need yet another institution. Maybe the real forward movement is toward intimacy, and that we just make communities aware. Like in San Diego, I have no idea how many small sacred communities are gathering. It would be helpful if there was a national, right, what do you call, where all of us have registered to say, if somebody moves to Omaha, go here. right? Because now if somebody moves to Omaha, you know where the Catholic churches are. But I'll tell you, that bishop there won't have anything to do with the queer community. And they called me there to help out with that because the bishop was just so homophobic. And there was nothing to do because I said, then let's expose him. I'll write the article for NCR. I'll get quotes from you all about your experience with this bishop, and we'll tell that story. But people were afraid. One man was afraid. And because he had a friendly relationship with the bishop, and he didn't want us to go public with how badly the bishop was acting. So we didn't have permission to expose the bishop. So that prophetic action never got taken. But I'm just saying, I listen to what you're saying about spiritual circles that exist right now. We're not connected. Is there a need spider web? So nodes, no. That there's 75,000 groups of 6 or 7 women with a sprinkling of evolutionary men. And we're changing the world. We're changing our cultures. We're changing our communities. We're changing ourselves by listening each other into being. That's just a question that comes to my mind. Is there any call to connect? Okay, the next group was, who was going to talk about it?
I was going to talk, and some of our thunder has gone, Mary Lou, because we took the word change too. I think that's what we talked about. But I just wanted to tell you about our group because we were from all over, including someone from Ireland. So indeed, we're not all alone, and indeed we have things in common. We talked about change in the world. We talked change in the church, all kinds of things. But I think the other thing that was important to us was the difference that Zoom has made, or Google Meets or whatever, and COVID. Because a lot of people are not going to church. The experience online, and they're realizing maybe they don't need to go to church. There's an awakening that is happening. And again, I think it's part of the change in people's lives. This change was forced on you because of COVID. But what it has done to people is open their eyes. And we think that's an important change. That's really all I want to say.
You know, if ex-Catholic was a religious institution, it would be the 3rd fastest growing religion. Because nobody's leaving the church as fast as Catholics are. And it doesn't even matter why. I know the list of reasons why, but don't take up space. We just know that's the phenomenon. We just know everybody on this call is part of that Exodus movement in a way, because you're creating alternative rituals, alternative communities. Even though you may still be going to Mass on Sunday, you might have gone because it was a feast of the Immaculate Conception, if you can believe that. So, you know, it doesn't matter. You know, I heard Carter Hayward. She was one of the first women Episcopal priests, and she spoke at Cornell many, many years ago. And somebody asked her, as a lesbian priest, how could she stand to be in this institution? And she just said, look, the house is on fire. Some people are inside trying to help, and some people are outside hosing it down. You take your position. You're going to be inside trying to help, or you're going to be on the outside. Well, I'm on the outside, obviously, because of the whole thing about queers. But a lot of you still remain on the inside and work from the outside. You go back and forth because you can, because you're astute and you know your way on these trails, and you're causing people to feel invited to alternative sacred places and sacred events. And even though it's 11:27 and we're not even going to have time to have another group, I don't know what happens to these events, that it just collapses, something collapses. But I'm just here to say that even through Zoom, I can feel you. Even through Zoom, I hear you. I know you. I am you. So let's just acknowledge the gift of us. And I'll say, for those questions that we didn't get to, which are big on your website, create and act. The question about creation is, think of those creations that helped you move forward in your life. Think of those movies you saw, or those books, or those poems, or those pieces of artwork. You know, I saw on your Facebook page an image of a woman, an icon, you know, like the Greek Orthodox icon. So it was an iconic woman. She had like a Band-Aid across her mouth. It was a profound image. It just stopped me in my tracks. And I'm thinking, in terms of creativity, what might this organization underwrite? How might you support the creation of some visuals, of some dance, of a documentary, of an exhibition of photographs or artwork? How might you extend your reach in the world so that the community at large has these kinds of experiences, visceral, right, life-changing provocation of new thinking, because we huddle together. We give 90 minutes of a Saturday morning in the hopes that something might happen, and something does. Something happened to me, at least. I got my money's worth. So that was create. And then the last one was act. And I know from looking at the website here, and I know there's tons of you not in WCC or whatever your nickname for it is, but you write letters at every right occasion to say, not acceptable, not evolutionary, not Christian, not right, not feminist, not environmental. That who's ever writing those letters, I don't know if it's just one or two of you, the letter writers or what, but that's definitely the action that I think you're probably most known for taking. That everywhere you look, about every social action, there's a letter that registers what's wrong, if there's something wrong for it. So I'm wanting to ask the question right now, if it so happened that this organization of women got headlined by the New York Times in the year 2022 for having achieved the most remarkable of all things, that it became a historical event, that this gathering of this small group of women caused something very big to happen because of the power of our numbers, the power of our prayer, the power of our intention and commitment. What might it have been that we caused to happen? That's all I know to do to ignite your prophetic imagination. And we have to honor the time because so many of you have other commitments today. I don't know, maybe if there's any questions, we could take a question or two, but it's 11:30 already. And I think, Mary Grace, what do you think? Mary Donnelly?
First of all, Jan, I want to thank you on behalf of all of us for this very stimulating conversation, sharing of ideas and new things, new adventures that we can have in our small groups and move out into a little further, stretch ourselves a little further into our space with these ideas. I also would like to remind you that you are going to share with us how we might touch base with your book, No Ordinary Time, because I think that I know we would all benefit from what you were going to share. I think it was a email or
Oh, yeah. Okay, here's the deal. I have a website, janphillips.com. If you go there and click on sign up for her mailing list, then you get to be in my circle. So many things are occurring. One is, if you sign up, you get your weekly bulletins from Immortality, which is some pithy quotation, some poem for my poetry book, some song, something to make you feel emotional and feel inspired. So you will be in my circle, and then you will know that I'm following up this with a 6-week webinar so we can continue to have conversations of consequence about ourselves as the spiritual birthers of the new thing. So you want to be part, because I'm going to send that to my mailing list. And so you'll want to be notified of when is that Zoominar going to occur. The other thing is, we're trying to figure out how to get to you all a copy of my book, No Ordinary Time, because it's the greatest book ever. It's called The Rise of Spiritual Intelligence and Evolutionary Creativity. It's a book of ours. So I talked with Mary about it last night. She says she reads it after she watches Rachel Maddow and Stephen Colbert. She reads Jan Phillips. I said, now that's a holy trinity you want to pay attention to.
There we go.
So anyway, it's a book of ours. So it's bite-sized, like Almond Joy miniatures. And I will send any of you a PDF file of this book that you can just print out and read on your own. But if any of you go to my gift shop and order anything, I will have your address. And even if you just order a pack of cards for $5, I will send you this book. I just can't you have to, something has to happen so I know your address and you pay for shipping, right? So there has to be some transaction, but I will send you all kinds of goodies, including When a Wise Woman Leads, which I think we were going to put on the screen today, but we don't have time for that. So I'll send you things because I'm going to get your emails, right? But you do need to sign up on your own if you want to be part of my circle. But I will email you things as soon as I get your emails. And I'm really grateful for me to have this privilege to be the one that gets to do most of the talking. I really enjoy that. But it's been a joy to hear you. I feel like this is my sisterhood. You know, I didn't last long in the CSJs, but this is my sisterhood. You are my community, and none of us are alone. So thank you for this great opportunity. No, I'm going to look at the rest of the screens here just so I can see your faces.
Okay, thank you, Jan, and thank you everyone for being with us today and for blessings on your ways that you're going to stretch yourself into the universe and beyond. Right, Jan?
Absolutely. All right. Be in touch with me. Love you.
All right. God bless you. And
Thanks.
thanks to our tech people in the background and
Thank
to all
you.
of you for joining us. Blessings.